Welcome back to Big Dan's Airgun Review channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the new Reximex Lyra-K. The question is it as good as the original Lyra? Well, there's only one way to find out. And with that said, let's move on to features and see just what you get for your money. So features, as always, we start off at the rear of the rifle where you'll see a rather nicely finished rubber recoil pad. Coming further along, we see the walnut stock and the ambidextrous raised cheek piece. Coming further along, we also get to some checkering. We'll talk about that when we get to the handling section. And as we come through, we get to the safety and the two-stage adjustable trigger mechanism. Again, we'll also talk a bit more about that when we get to the handling section. As we come up, we get to the biathlon side lever, and sitting above this, we also have the Picatinny style scope rail. Another very nice touch, as seen on the standard Lyra, is the power adjuster, something that no doubt hunters are going to absolutely love. Coming slightly further down, we have more checkering on the forestock, and something that we geek over on this channel, probably more than we should, although you can't see it. The pressure gauge is living inside of the housing in the forestock, and it also has a built-in quick fill probe. Lovely jubbly. As we come further along, this is where we get the big differences with the Lyra-K. We have a shorter barrel on here, and at the end of the shroud we also have 1/2" UNF, so you can chuck a silencer on there. And as we come down, we get to a 250cc buddy bottle. So it'll be interesting to see how this compares over the chronograph testing section compared to the older Lyra. As we come back, you can see we have got a sling stud on the front and on the rear here, if we just have a quick look at that. As we move through, you will also notice that you can use this to fit a bipod as well. So nice little touch, means you don't have to drill into the walnut stock of your brand new gun and have potential nightmares over it thinking, oh god, please don't crack. It's done from the factory for you. So spot on, Reximex, well done. So we can say you get a lot of kit on the gun, but what about with the gun? Well, you get 2 magazines of standard, as per all Reximex products. You also get a handy fill adapter, which I quite like. That's a nice little extra feature there. I do appreciate that, and it hopefully might help a few people out. As we come further along, we also have an accessory rail, which will fit, as I'm sure you can imagine, around the bipod stud or sling swivel on the front end, just to help you fit a few extra bits and bobs if you need it. And we also have a single shot tray. So you do get a lot of stuff for your money, it must be said. However, it's a bit early to be singing its praises at this moment in time. Look at my ugly shadow. Bit early to be singing its praises at this moment in time. We need to see what it's like actually in the shoulder. But before we get to that point, let's have a little closer look at those magazines. Okay, so loading the mag, how is this done? Well, first thing I'll say is if you've seen any of our other Reximex videos, you can pretty much skip past this segment here. It's the exact same as any other of their mags. However, if you're new to the brand, all you want to do, you can see on the magazine there's an arrow there going clockwise. Simply spin the mag around like so, or the tray I should say around like so, until you feel it puts the spring under tension and stops in place there. What I would say is I usually use my middle finger, you can see there, just to cover up that hole at the back there, because what can happen is your pellet will fall straight through the other side and then it's just a bit of a nuisance really. So simply plop your first pellet in, nose first, as you can see there, and then simply slide the tray back. And you'll feel now that the tray's fairly loose, there's no spring tension or anything there because it's being locked into place with that first pellet. And simply basically keep spinning the tray anti-clockwise, chucking pellets in nose first until she's done. So obviously keep going until that's all the way around there, and then you're ready to rock and roll. So that's loading the mags. Let's chuck a scope on there, put it in the shoulder and see how it feels. Okay then, so handling with the Reximex Lyra, and what do we think? First thing I'm going to say is apologies if I'm squinting at you. I swear I'm not looking at you menacingly. It's more because the sun is literally in my eyes at this moment in time. I mean, I could have put the glasses on, the sunglasses, but I probably would have just looked like Tom Cruise's fatter cousin, to be honest with you, so I thought against that immediately. But yeah, apologies for squinting and probably looking more like Quasimodo than what I ever have done before. However, back to the gun, shall we? The Reximex Lyra Compact, or K, I suppose they're doing a German thing, K carbine sort of thing. What do we think? First thing I'm going to say, when you see these in the pictures, the advertising material, they do look quite ugly. I've got to say that. It is what it is in my opinion. But when you actually see that in the flesh, once it's got a scope on there and a silencer, it all starts making sense. At least I think it does. I'm not going to say it's a gorgeous gun up there with your Day State Huntsman Regals and such like that, but I tell you what, that's a good looking bit of kit when it's actually set up. The best bit, however, the standard Reximex Lyra, when we did the review, I believe one of the terms I used was something along the lines of you're sort of shouldering a snooker cue. It was a long old gun off memory, and it was a bit nose heavy as well. This, on the other hand, is absolutely gorgeous. It really is. Shortening up that barrel on the front end, and again replacing that big cylinder just with this little 250cc buddy bottle, has worked wonders with this gun. Dare I say it, this is quite possibly one of the single nicest rifles to shoulder that I've ever had on this channel. It's light, it's balanced well. I mean, we can't really do the balance test all that well because of the shaping of the stock here, so I can't really move my hands along. But the balance feels pretty much perfect 50-50 when it's in your hands. And I tell you something, as long as it shoots well, because this, again, even this is meaningless. It can handle the best thing on the planet, but if it won't shoot its way out of a paper bag, what the hell's the point? If this shoots well, this is going to be, I'm going to say it here and now, probably, at least at the moment, the best hunting PCP that I've ever had on this channel. That feels so good. Despite the way it looks in pictures, it's just perfection. I mean, my elbows at this moment in time aren't even resting. I'm floating in the air. And I can hold that so still. That is stunning. It really is. But you want to see the important bits because I'm waffling now. So let's move on. So then, trigger and cocking action. So, side lever. Gorgeous, I've got to say that. You can feel there's definitely a semi, not heavy duty I wouldn't say, but there's a big old spring in there as you're cocking it back. But that's not to say it's heavy, it's a very solid feeling thing. But it's still reasonably light. Magazine, to load that, you can see there's, or hopefully you can see it, there's a groove going along the top of the mag, and you've got a groove in the breech as well. Simply line them up, which I'm actually really impressed with myself how well I did that considering I couldn't see what I was doing. And then simply close the side lever, and you're ready to rock and roll. I could feel a little bit of the pellet getting loaded into the breech then. There was a little if you saw that there, but to be fair, they're Crossman 7.9 grain pellets. I think with the JSB in there, you wouldn't even feel that. It was still smooth enough, as you could see then. Right, so let's whack that safety off. Nope, safety's already off, that's good. Let's take aim. So there's a little stinger nettle I'm aiming at the moment. Let's feel that trigger. So that's interesting. This is an actual two-stage. You see me bouncing off there, hopefully. Okay, that's quite special. Yeah, I promise you I haven't touched this gun since it's been out of the box. It's completely bog standard. Maybe it's just this one that's set up well, who knows. Most Reximex guns tend to be a bit of a single stage out of the box. I think we might have mentioned that off memory with the Pretensis, but correct me if I'm wrong. This, however, we'll do a little finger trick. So I put a new one in. That was smooth as silk. This one, little finger. There's bouncing off second. And then off she goes. Now we've already done a pull weight test on this, and it came out the second stage was less than a pound in pull weight. Again, if you don't like that, you can absolutely modify that and tweak it to make it a bit heavier. To be honest though, for me, that is absolutely perfection. It really is. Let's see if we can get that stinger nettle. Completely missed, but that's because it's not zeroed in, is it? Numbnuts. Never mind. At least that's the excuse I'll use. But no, to handle, that is absolutely stunning. And even if you're on the fence about one, if you see one on the shelf, put it in your shoulder immediately. It is a beautiful thing to put in there, it really is. But enough of that, because I mean, yeah, it handles well, but how does it shoot is the question. And interestingly, what's the shot count going to be like compared to the standard Lyra? Let's get the chronograph out and let's find out. And with that out of the way, it's accuracy testing time. We'll start out at our 25-yard mark and see what it groups best with before pushing on to longer range. There's a little breeze, as you may see in the camera, but hopefully it shouldn't affect us too much at 25 yards. So after chatting with my range marshal and making sure we're safe to shoot, it's time to zero in and see just what this little gun can do. With that out of the way, we're now going to push on to 50 yards with the best pellets on test and see how we get on. The wind has sadly picked up a bit, as can be seen here, but I'll just have to pick my shots and see how we do. Onwards to 50. So, final verdict, and what do we think of the Lyra? As I'm sure you can probably tell, I'm really rather smitten, but before I kiss its backside, we need to mention some of the niggles, or potential negatives. As we say, no rifle is perfect. For starters, the length of pull is the same as the standard Lyra, so if you're a bit uncomfortable with the original rifle, this one will still feel a bit long. Personally, I loved it as it fits me like a glove, but then I do also have arms like Mr. Tickle, so bear that in mind. The other nitpick is that you may find the forestock a bit busy if you have larger hands, as you'll have the fill area cut out on the underside along with the sling stud taking up space, but you can always remove the stud, so as mentioned, it's a nitpick more than anything. That said, during testing, the single shot tray was absolutely atrocious, with pellets falling backwards at times into the breech, and I do highly recommend getting an aftermarket unit. To be honest, that's pretty much it, so now for the really great stuff. The rifle handles like a dream. It feels effortless in the shoulder, even with a large scope mounted, and the trigger and side lever action is absolutely superb. In regards to shot count, we ended up with around 110 shots in the sweet zone, with roughly 170 shots before dropping below 10 feet-pounds, with a spread of only 25 feet per second. Considering this isn't anywhere close to being a run-in gun, and this was also with pellets from the tin being fired from the mags, I'm pretty impressed. There's more than enough there for hunting and target work. Speaking of target work, how good is the Lyra-K? How about 4 shots going through the exact same hole at 25 yards and being capable of 20 pence groups in gusty outdoors conditions at 50 yards? As many of you will know, I don't massively like most PCPs, as I get little enjoyment out of shooting them. That said, it's rifles like these that I absolutely fall in love with, for 2 very good reasons. One, because it's a highly capable rifle that's actually affordable, something that's a bit of a rarity these days at times. And 2, because out there somewhere, there will be a brand snob at a range shooting next to someone with a Lyra-K, and there's every chance this little Turkish gun could be utterly humiliating his £2,000 setup. Maybe I'm shallow, but that gives me a warm, gooey feeling that I can't deny. So, my overall verdict. I think it's damn near perfection for a budget PCP. The original Lyra was almost voted the airgun of the year here in the UK, and if the Lyra-K doesn't even get nominated, I will scream it's rigged and storm off stage like the diva that I am. And with that for you all to look forward to, I'll say thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.